So one, thank you for joining us from Provence. Yes, let's
Cheers.
get a cheers here. Second time,
Cheers.
I think, your episode continues to be, I think, one of our most watched ever. So I'm,
Quality, James. Quality.
so I'm happy we're doing a second.
Thank you for
And
having me.
yes, and how are things in Provence right now?
Things are good. It's a new normal. I feel comforted to be around French people who seem like perfectly fine shutting their businesses down because they do it anyways twice a year for like a month each. Like they're just like, we're gonna go on family vacay, bye. And we're
Yeah.
like, what? So they're a little more used to not working 24 hours a day like Americans are. So like that's comforting. The food is outrageous. Like the going outside and finding flowers in spring in
Oh yeah.
Provence is like endless inspiration. The weather's beautiful. And so like I'm set up in a really great spot to like watch the world from a window.
Yes. And how are you doing? I mean, it's not easy. You have a young child. Uh, you've got, you're not living.
Suicide watch every day.
Yeah.
Suicide watch with her. It's like what she fell into a crate today, and I'm like, oh my god, please, we can't go to the hospital. Don't you understand that right now?
But it's got to be such a, such a new thing. You're not in your chateau yet. So it's not like you
After this,
guys,
nobody wants a chateau.
right.
No.
But yeah, how have you been holding up with all of that, with having to, be stuck inside, you know, be with the kid, have Kevin there, everything.
You know, I'm an introverted person, so a lot of it is not that different from what my life was like before. The childcare is difficult because it is like the moment you wake up at 7 a.m. because she wakes you up, it doesn't end until 8 p.m. when she goes to bed. It's like holy shit. And like the days if she only takes a 25-minute nap, you think like, okay, we're all gonna like murder suicide right now. I can't. But then you get to like see her take her first steps
Yeah.
and like we're so bonded. Like I feel like this is a really good bonding time. So it's pros and cons with that. But the it's been interesting experience professionally to go through because when it began, I lost all of my client work that I survive on, which is commercial work in the United States,
Hmm.
and an exhibition that I invested a lot of my own money in New York, which was like a big career moment for me as an artist. And it all happened, and it was like, oh, like we were like literally my husband and I are like, we don't understand what we're gonna do. Like we have to like, move home with our parents. Like what is even happening right
Right.
now? Like we have no income. We have a baby. Like oh my god. And and then the greatest thing happened is like I'd always wanted a store. I always want to have my own online store. I always want to sell my work myself. And this like jump started us into this dream that I've been kind of procrastinating putting together for 3 years because I didn't need to because I had
Hmm.
client work, and it pushed us into that. And then it's just like been a total I feel like I've just totally blossomed in every way as a business person, as like with our security and our family life, and then as an artist to be able to every day practice my work. And the community, like the growth has been insane. And so
Yeah.
it's like the huge silver lining to all of everything.
Yeah. And I want to talk about that because I think a lot of people are not faced with a crisis and say, okay, let's open up an online shop and commit ourselves to creating a
No,
unique piece of art every day.
it's like madness, right? But
Yeah.
I was talking to one of my clients, and they were like, well, we don't have in-store, but online's doing really well because everyone's stuck at home shopping online. So I was like, okay, well, it's like if that's where the people are, then maybe it will work.
Yeah. And you've been, you know, pretty prolific over the last couple of years in creating, something new, not every day, but I feel like you've always been pretty prolific. And when we spoke last time, you were very into the self-portrait project. And I know at that point you were kicking, Kevin out of the house for a few hours a day so you could
Mm,
work on that. Um, but when you started it, did you think of it as this is going to be, isolation creation? Let's talk about that as like a wrapper for what you've been doing. Because the idea of you having a store and selling, things, that is something you've wanted to do. And this obviously,
yes. Well,
made that go faster.
I got a little ahead of myself. So basically, we lost all the jobs. Oh my God, how are we gonna make money? And like that feeling is just like the worst feeling in the world.
Yeah.
And I came downstairs and I was like, I'm gonna make a piece of art every single day because we couldn't leave, couldn't go anywhere. You know, it's like, what are we gonna lay around and be miserable? So it's like, I'm gonna make a piece of art every single day. I'm gonna make a commitment. I'm gonna make it a challenge to myself. And then I think it should have a hashtag. I think hashtag isolation creation. And I think I should ask other people to do it too, as a way to like keep us all inspired and all going, and like, we can all learn from each other and all the wonderful community stuff. And and it was a Saturday, and Kevin goes, "Oh, maybe can you start on Monday?" he's like, oh, because he knows how this life consuming like this idea is gonna be, and he's like, "I'm gonna have one more day." Like, and I was like, "No, we have to start today." So that's how the project started. The store kicked into place. Like, we weren't gonna. The idea of posters that we're doing now didn't start initially. It was just I'm gonna create a piece of art every single day. And then one of my friends who's a fashion designer in Hudson, she's like, have your own art gallery show on your Instagram as a way to raise money. And so she started this initiative, and she's like, I'm gonna announce it for you. And I was like, oh shit, so now I have to do it. So Kevin built a store in like 3 days, and I was like, well, why don't we make affordable art? Because my fine art work it takes a lot of time, and it's really high quality, it's really limited, and I don't do that much publicly. So I was like, well, I want to make affordable art, because there's nothing worse than losing your job or being in this weird situation and then not being able to afford something from an artist that you love to follow. Like, let's make it affordable, and then let's also use part of the proceeds to give to other artists. So it's just kind of this endless chain of support for artists. And so that's where we landed.
And it's obviously worked incredibly well. I don't know what is the hashtag up to now?
It's almost 200,000.
Insane.
Isn't that crazy?
Insane.
And there was like a few posts, like Kevin was like, make sure nothing's on that hashtag before we announce it. And there's just like a few little things. So it really is like organically went from like 5 to 200,000.
And how
so cool.
I mean, how did you I think that it was such a great idea. And obviously, like, we're in this unique situation where everybody is kind of going through the same thing. But did you do anything else to encourage it? Like, have you been surprised how well this has been received and how much the community has kind of jumped into this?
I was surprised. I am surprised that anyone cares to see what I'm making every day. And it's like, every day is the most wonderful thing when I rediscover that people care and that it's a positive thing in the world. Like, that's awesome. And then it's just amazing that people got the concept instantly and started to participate right away. So every morning I go through the hashtag and I kind of curate my own favorite artist works and it's global everywhere of what they've created. And it's humanizing, and it's hopeful, and it's beautiful, and it's so empowering for people, because you can lose everything, but you don't have to lose your soul. You don't have to lose your what makes you. You can still be you and make wonderful things.
And I have a question. I think I posted about this a couple of weeks ago. It was like, I enjoy using that side of my brain and being creative. I have found it really, really difficult the last month to be creative in any way, because
how are you getting your stress out though? How do you get your stress out? Literally, I have to make something to get it out of me and put it into something. So how are you?
I don't think I am.
Your stress?
I think that
are you biking?
I do bike and I work out, but I think that I'm not great at managing my stress in general, and I probably internalize it a little too much. But does that stress, does it not, is it not a blocker to creativity? Is the uncertainty like not make it harder for you to just totally like open yourself up to that art?
The creativity is the savior of the stress. It is my salvation. When I get those few hours alone in the studio And there are days when I don't want to do it. And there are days when I don't know what I'm going to do. And I can't even think about it. Like today was a really stressful day. Yesterday was an incredibly emotional day because two of my father's coworkers have the coronavirus, and my father's in his 60s. And it's like, I can't go. If anything happens, I can't even go to the United States. It's like,
Right.
the last thing I want to do is go make something pretty, you know?
Right.
But I go in there and I go and I feel the emotions and I make, and it pours out of me and it pours into something else. And then it's a human universal experience because it's truth, what I'm making. You may look at it, it may look like pretty flowers, but it's not. It is a whole story about what is happening. Like yesterday's was about the drowning, and it was just emotional drowning and the physical drowning of how you die from it. And it's representational, and I got that out of me, and it was therapeutic. And
Yeah.
if I just stayed home, I just would have gone to a darker, lonelier place. More fear would have been involved. So for me, it's like, it's therapy to
Yeah.
create. And then you
And
make something and you share, and it affects other people, and they understand, and they feel relief too, and it brings you together, and like all that support is really important.
yeah. And last time we talked, you talked a lot about craft, right? And do you feel like this has, I mean, I think the answer is probably yes, but it seems like this has just pushed you deeper. And this really, to me, watching it, it feels like this kind of um, culmination of all these years of work. I think I was talking to my mom the other day on a bike ride, and I was like,
Oh my God.
to look at Jamie's work when she moved to Provence, which was much more reportage kind of, and
So much lighter. Yeah.
so much
Very
lighter,
snapshotty. Very
very
snapshotty.
snapshotty,
Yeah.
beautiful, and to see all the hard work that went in. And now this does feel like some kind of like it feels like some sort of crescendo to all of those years. Does it feel like that work is like is kind of manifesting itself? Because it just feels like it's having a big moment.
Yeah, it does kind of feel as if it was all leading to this, which is a really strange thing to think. It can't possibly, it's not something that can be possible, but it just does feel that way. Like I was practicing for this moment.
Yeah. And I'm curious, looking ahead, as we continue to go through this, but then hopefully after, how do you feel like as an artist, this crisis and this experience of creating this challenge and connecting to your community in a new way, how this
It's,
crisis and and how you've reacted to it, how it changes you?
I mean, I'm someone who really has to live in the moment, and like, those kind of things are really difficult for me to answer until it's in the past. And I can
Mm,
look back on it and say, this is what was happening. This is what was going on in me. Like I live very much in the present
yeah.
every single day. Yeah. So like
Have
all
you
I know is what I'm doing today and what it means to me today. And I don't necessarily know what it's going to mean to me tomorrow. I'll figure it out when
right.
I wake up.
And with this, have you had anyone like use the hashtag or kind of submit their own that has been like holy shit, that person, like artists that you look up
Oh,
to?
oh, like that. I mean, no,
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, I don't like go
You
too
can't
deep
you
in
can't
in
see
the in
everyone,
the
obviously.
vortex. No, right. But there are some times where I find one that I'm like, this is a really good photograph or a
Yeah.
really good painting, and I'm like, well, now I could never do something like that because I'm gonna be copying them. So I'm like, damn it! But it's a really great photo, so I have to share the photo. So like, I've been incredibly impressed with what some people have done.
Have people been receiving them?
People have been receiving them. Yeah. The US is pretty good about getting them. Europe was like super slow because Europe's taking it seriously.
Right.
And yeah. And so like the packages when they cross borders, they have to sit for 2 weeks before they'll be touched by the French people.
Okay.
So which is fine and safe and healthy. But then so literally 2 days ago, all the French people got theirs. So like friends
Okay.
in Paris and friends in Avignon, and I like we ordered the first 25 up to that point, and so we got ours. And the guy like literally I opened the door, he like threw it in. And I was like, yay! Okay, customer service ad, ours are damaged.
Other than the like community participation, I think how overwhelming that has been. Has there been any other big surprises in doing this? Anything that's really surprised you?
I was surprised, you do Instagram and social media for so long, right?
Yeah.
And it's all kind of, I don't know, but I didn't know that I could do something and then like have people become more interested and start gaining more followers. I thought like, okay, like this is my lane and I'm gonna stay
Mm-hmm.
here, and like the growth is very steady and the same. But I'm like, oh my God, it's amazing. And people are getting it and following along and sharing it in a way that's like super overwhelming. And I would never have expected something like that at this point in my social media
Yeah.
repertoire.
Has your following grown in the last 6 weeks?
It's like 1,000 a day,
Wow.
which is great because
That's great.
I'm like
Yeah.
a snail on the follower account. You guys are always giving me shit for my number of followers, and I'm like, it's organic, babe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, you were I think last time you were on the show, 2 years ago, you were probably at about 120K.
Was that it?
Yeah.
I don't remember. Yeah, so look at
Yeah.
that. And I'm
Look
at
at that.
270.
That's huge. It's
It's
huge.
huge. I think I was not that long ago. I was at 245, like a couple of
Yeah.
months ago. So that goes to show you how much growth has been happening.
Yeah.
But Kevin always talks about this, like consistency is so important with people. Like Casey Neistat's blog is when he was vlogging every single
Mm-hmm.
day, and like how your numbers just go insane. So like I'm showing up every single day and I'm creating content and sharing and process, and so people can like understand that and get on board with that.
And there was, I think we touched on it again, but I think I touched on it already, but I'd like to do it so more explicitly. Like, how hard is it to do it every day? Because this
It
has to have gone a little longer than you thought.
I would never underestimate the French for being overly dramatic. Number one. It's not doing the photography part. I get so much joy and satisfaction out of the photography part that I could do it every single day. And I elect to do it when I could before we had a baby almost every single day. Like working on the weekends was my favorite thing because finally like emails were quiet and work was quiet
Mm-hmm.
and I could just do my work. So I love having that to look forward to every day. I love it as therapy for myself. I love, all of that goes along with it. The challenge is just how do you do it and make sure you have groceries and diapers and meals and the house and picked up and like to balance it with real life, because
Yeah.
being able to go into your studio every single day and make art is not necessarily real life, you know?
Yeah.
So that balance is difficult to make sure Kevin has enough of his own time, like without the baby too, and he's not burned out, and everything is very fair and shared and
Yeah.
not too exhausting. It is so exhausting though. I mean, literally, I woke up today and I was like, I'm like emotionally drained from yesterday, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Oh my God. But then Kevin went for a run and he found lilacs and he came back
That's
with
great.
lilacs in the running stroller, and it was like, oh my God.
There you go.
Just like
Kevin to
that.
the
Just like,
rescue
but
again.
like, I know he really is the hero. But like, I deserve no credit for anything. But it's really nice because it really shows you like how the gifts of life. It's not
Yeah.
like we love Cartier. Sure, a
Right.
Cartier watch is wonderful, but your husband coming home and with flowers he like ripped off of a wall somewhere, it's like the best gift. It's like Jamie will like these.
Yeah. And how, I mean, I think that's interesting because like, your photography has always, I think, been about beauty. It has
Yeah.
gotten, it has gotten darker, and in years past it was, I think, you do create this dream world
Mm.
of like luxury and beauty and elegance really well. And now you're diving into these more natural and sometimes like dying or dead things
Mm.
too.
Right,
You're
but
kind of
still in a beautiful way.
still in a beautiful way. Um, but how do you balance as an artist? Yeah, the mood of the world, people losing their jobs, people having all this uncertainty, people dying, um, with that like other world that you're creating, which has always been about grace and beauty and elegance.
Right. Well, I think that there is always beauty in truth. So even when you're facing difficult things, there's still beauty in that. And that is hopefully what I'm able to see and translate through my work, you know?
Other than like finishing that project, like, continuing to do it until the lockdown is lifted. Do you have any plans for this project that go beyond when we're actually all locked down? Do you think it's something you're going to continue to try? You're going to continue to sell art? What's the plan coming out of this?
So I'm continue. I sell fine art privately, and I'm getting much more comfortable doing it publicly myself. And I was gonna go the route of doing it through people like galleries and stores, but now that I've kind of empowered myself to do it myself, then I might just prefer to do it that way and not have to give them 50% of the commission, because they always want you to do all the work anyways. They want you to create
Right.
the work, and then they want you to like sell it for them through your social media. And it's like, oh my God, just sell it myself. So I've learned, like some things I've learned. So that's definitely one thing. Kevin and I want to invest in making photography tutorials this fall that we will put in our store. And this is where I can actually really like focus, like properly focus, go through processes, and like answer questions and create a photography community group where you can basically educate yourself through me on how to be a photographer. And I'll just share everything that I know, from commercial stuff to fine art stuff to gear and etc. So that's going to be in the future. New product stuff. We want to explore taking these photographs that I've done for Eisenstein Creation and do journals or postcards, like other products. This is very new to us, so we have to see stuff like that, how that works. I would love to see if I can make this into a book. So we have to see about that. But that's as far as I can think.
I
That's
think the
enough.
French should put it on a stamp. They would be great stamps, right?
I mean, the French don't get too excited about anything, but I would be so excited. Their stamps are really beautiful. I never buy stamps, but I went to the post office like last year, and the stamps were so beautiful. I bought them and put them in my drawer. Like I'm like a 6-year-old cat lady. Like I put them in my drawer, but literally when I open that drawer and I see them, it makes me so happy because they're beautiful. They're little hand painted ballerinas.
That's lovely.
It's like so French and wonderful.
That's lovely.
But maybe they could have an exhibition in France or something. I don't know.
There we go. Yeah.
I don't know.
I appreciate you talking to us, and I think that a great lesson for everyone that you are in some ways not in control of the world, but you are in control of the way that you kind of deal with it.
Yeah, you cannot control what happens to you, but you can certainly control what you do with your day.
Yeah.
And if you're sitting there and everything sucks, we'll try making something and see how it feels.
And I encourage everyone, if you haven't seen it, to scroll obviously through Jamie's work, but also just through the hashtag, because there are people who are incredible and are obviously artists, and there are people who are just trying,
From embroidery to like musicians to painters to photographers to illustrators. I mean, like if you make it, they come. It's just amazing.
We go. I love it. Well, thank you so much. Always a pleasure to talk. We got to also see the sun kind of go down in Provence through your window. Right? So that's lovely.
I know. Yes. I said it for her. I was like, they have to see the sky.
Well, we look forward to seeing what you produce every day. And again, thank you so much for sharing with us.
Oh, and did you know, like James?
Yes.
My Instagram handle.
Oh, yes. JamieBeck.co.
So you're for.co.
Yes.
Which is where I learned the co from. How many years ago did you guys change that?
I think 3 or 4.
Yeah,
something.
and I texted Kevin because I can't get JamieBeck.com. Like an actor or author owns it, and I was like, .co is the new thing. And so he's like, on it, and he got JamieBeck.co years ago because of you guys.
There we go.
So it finally went into use like 2.5 weeks ago. and then Danielle over, she helped me get Instagram to like get on it and change it. Yes. I was so tired of being called Anne.
Yes, I know. I get it. You know, like my girlfriend's Instagram is K Kelly, and
Yeah.
her name is Kristen. But everyone's like, "How's Kelly?" I'm at this point. I'm just like, "Kelly's great. Yeah, she's doing great.
You just
It's
embrace it.
fine. It's fine."
She can change her handle if she
I
wants.
know. I know. Well, I
We're
think
all
of, you know,
doing
every
it.
time I go by Ann Street, I think of you and Kevin and that
That's
old
where it all
space.
began.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, we were babies.
we were very young. We were very young. All right, friend. Thank you
I
so
appreciate
much.
it.